This tutorial is designed to help you launch a brand new course in Canvas. Today, we'll cover the basic necessities to ensure your Canvas course is ready to go for the first day of class, including course design and the implementation of key features in Canvas. This video is designed to be paused at several points along the way. Look for the pause screen to stop the video so you have enough time to complete the steps described in the video for your own course before moving along to the next part. At the end of the video, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. So let's get started. Once you've logged in, on the far left side of the Canvas screen in gray, you'll see the vertical global navigation menu. This menu will always be available to you no matter where you go in Canvas. The most helpful button in the global navigation menu is probably going to be your dashboard. It's the third button down, and in the dashboard you'll see tiles representing any course that you are associated with your account. Today we're going to create a sandbox course, which we can later use to import into any of our classes that are tied to a Skyward roster. You'll notice there's no place on your dashboard to add a new course. Instead, this is just a place that you can go to for quick and easy access to any of the courses you are most likely active in. If we go back to the global navigation menu, right below the dashboard button is another button called Courses. When you click on Courses, you'll see a more extensive list of any course that you are associated with. If you click on the very last link at the bottom of that menu, it says All Courses. When they load, you'll see a pretty exhaustive list of any course that your account is tied to, including any previous enrollments. This is the equivalent of your archived courses from Google Classroom. So you can always go back in the future and access any materials that you've created in former classes. You may also notice that this list of courses has a bunch of stars listed right next to it. If a star is filled in or shaded in a dark red orangey color, that means that it's visible on your dashboard. So if there's ever a course that you don't want to see on your dashboard that you don't frequent very often, you can always unclick the star to prevent it from showing up on your dashboard. And vice versa, if you'd like it to show up, you can click the star to shade it back in again. If I scroll all the way back up to the top, in the top left corner is an Add Course button in gray. This is where I'm going to click to create my new sandbox course. You'll want to give your course a name or a title. Best practice is to include your full name and the word sandbox. If you have multiple preps that you plan on making a sandbox course for, you could type that in parentheses or somewhere after your sandbox designation. Then create a course by clicking the red button, and it will instantly dump you into your brand new course. For now, nothing is in here. There's no modules, there's no design elements, no content. It's a complete blank slate. To help you get started, we've created a couple of different templates you can select from to make the process of creating a course from scratch a little bit faster and easier for you. To get to the templates, you'll need to go to the far right side, and there is a list of different choices in gray buttons. The second button down says to import from Commons, and the Commons is a location in Canvas where people can share resources with each other and you can download content into your course. So when you click on Commons, you'll see a lot of different things kind of populate. To get to what we need, we'll want to go to the search bar at the top of our Commons and type in D155 Fall 2020. You should see 3 different search results, and these are the different templates that we've created for you to use with your courses to get you started. The first one listed is a template in which everything will be organized by week with the dates pre-filled in for you. The second option is a similar template that has a home page and all of the modules will be organized instead by unit. And the third one is a basic template in which you essentially will see a list of all of your content in a very similar way to how Google Classroom was set up. It will look like a continuous stream of content in a large, long list. For today's tutorial, I'm going to select the organized by week template. You'll go all the way over to the far right side, and right below the icon or the picture that represents the course is a blue import/download button. Click the button and then find the course that you created for your sandbox today. So here is the course that I created my sandbox for that I want to import this template into. And if I've checked that box, then at the bottom, import into course now becomes an active option and the button turns blue. If you are creating multiple sandbox courses because you have multiple preps in this semester, you can simultaneously add the template to all of those courses at once. For now, I'm just working in one sandbox course, so I'm going to select that one and import it into course. And if your import was successful, you should see a green banner across the top that says you have successfully started the import. So to get back to the course, now that we've downloaded this template, I'm going to use, again, my global navigation menu on the far left side. Again, the dashboard is going to be your go-to spot to locate your courses. If I scroll down, I should now see the new course that I created, as well as the icon and the information associated with the template that I selected from the Commons. So if I click into this course, it now is going to look very different from what we saw before. Before it was a very blank slate with nothing in it. Now we can see some sample announcements as well as a pre-made homepage. There are some images as well as some buttons that will take you to the content for each of those weeks that are filled out. Now that we have a template ready to go, we want to go into our settings and finalize a couple of other features for our course to make it ready for day one. Settings can be found at the very bottom of your course menu. So again, towards the left is a menu that is specific to our course, and it's nested right next to our global navigation menu. If this menu is ever in your way, you can click these three horizontal bars to hide the menu, or to make it reappear, click the bars again. So I'm going to go all the way down my list to Settings. And the first option I have is to change some of the course details. For our purposes, you may be interested in uploading your own image to represent your course. The other thing that we need to change is in the third tab of our settings titled Navigation. If you click in Navigation, it gives you a long list of different options that are available in our course menu. So you'll notice in our course menu off to the side, there's a long list of links. Some of them have nothing next to them, and others have a little eyeball with a line crossed through it. That icon means that that link will not be visible to students when they are viewing your course. We have decided on keeping our navigation options consistent across the district. Right now, my particular template or course is showing home, announcement, grades, and rubrics. I don't need the rubrics option available to students right now, so I'm going to click it and drag it down below. This second list down here are links that are available, but if they're listed in the bottom, they won't be visible to students. But whatever I drag up to the top will be available. The most important one to make sure that you have is the modules, because this is where students will go to get everything they need, and it's also where we will go to build out and create or add any content to our course for students to have access to. So select modules and then drag it up to our top list. And then the last one that we want to include is Skyward Access. So I'm going to find Skyward and drag that up to the top as well. Double check to make sure that your options for navigation include home, announcements, modules, grades, and Skyward Access. If you have anything else in this list, it needs to be moved down to be hidden at the bottom. And if you are missing any of these 5 options, they need to be dragged up to this top area to make sure that they're visible to students. By ensuring that we all have the same 5 options in each of our courses, it will streamline the student experience and help our students navigate Canvas regardless of which course they're in. Once you've set all 5 of those options, scroll all the way down to the bottom and click the red Save button. Now, if I glance at my course menu on the side, my options that I selected are listed up here towards the top in the same order that I listed them in my settings. The next option that we need to select for our course is under Feature Options. It's the 5th tab in our settings. There's a wide range of different settings that you have control over, but for now, the most important one is about halfway down. There's a feature called New Quizzes that is a really powerful tool that will allow us to assess students and to create unique, engaging experiences for them in the course in an online setting. So you'll want to make sure that while you're in settings, you click this switch to toggle it on to ensure you have access to this cool part of Canvas as you build out more features of your course. As long as the switch is toggled and you see a green check mark, there's nothing left to save. The next setting that we want to work with is setting up our gradebook. Grades are not set up in the settings portion, and instead we're going to go into the assignments link in our course menu. By default, Canvas always includes an assignment group, but we do not have an assignment group in our district grading policy. Instead, we rely on formative, summative, and potentially a final exam category. So to ensure that our course will sync with our Skyward Access gradebook, we need to remove this assignment category. To do that, I'm going to go all the way to the end of this assignment category to the 3 dots. It's like a vertical ellipsis that represents an extended menu. If I click on those 3 dots, the second option down is to delete. So I will delete this category, confirm that that's actually what I want to do by clicking OK. And you'll notice then that we're left with the 3 categories that reflect our grading policy at District 155. What may be different in different courses is the grade weighting. And so right now, all 3 of these categories are set at 0% of the total. If your course is weighted differently across these categories, you'll need to go up to the 3 dots for the entire page. And in this extended menu, the second option down with a little check mark is the assignment group's weight. If you click in here, ensure that this box is checked to weight the final grade based off of our assignment groups. And from there, you can type in the percentages. Again, yours may differ for your course. So just type in what your CLT has agreed on for your course. Ensure that it adds up to 100% and then click Save to continue. You should notice if it was successful that each of these categories now have grade weights associated with them that we set in the previous screen. Now, if we go over to our menu again and click Grades, our gradebook will reflect that assignment grouping. So in our Sandbox course, we don't have a roster of students, so we don't have a student name listed. But we can see the categories that any assignments or things that we put into our gradebook to be graded from this point forward will show up under these categories. And again, you can double check to make sure that your category grade weights match what you decided in the previous screen. One thing that's a little bit different about the Canvas gradebook versus what you may be familiar with from Skyward is where the total grade is listed. Canvas has it listed at the end, so we can easily bump it up by the student name so that it's a similar experience to what we're used to in previous years when we were recording our grades in Skyward. To do that, click on the extended menu dots and select the second option down at the very bottom that says Move to the Front. Right away, it will lock in your total grade calculation, and it will be nested right next to the students' names. The other thing to draw your attention to are different ways that you can view your gradebook. As you populate more assignments and grades along with your student lists, under the View category, you can arrange it to see the assignments listed newest to oldest. And again, by selecting that option, it's going to have a very similar experience to what you're used to in Skyward, where it always listed the most recent assignments closest to the student name and the total score. You may also find it helpful to be aware that there are different filters, and so what you're able to view in your screen will be different depending on what filter you select. So you could look at just the formative assessments or just the summative assessments at one time, or you could grade only the materials or assignments or assessments associated with a given module at a time. So it's nice to kind of modify your screen so that you don't see the whole gradebook at any given moment. One thing that's not shown on this screen because we're working in just a sandbox course is the ability to look at the entire course or individual sections within that course. If you have multiple sections for your sandbox course, you can view all students and the gradebook for everyone at once, or there will be a drop-down menu here where you can select to view just section 1 or section 2 or section 3 to grade within a class period or to grade all of your students at once. Now that we have our gradebook set up, we're going to shift gears and think about how we can add various content to our course. In the gradebook, under these 3 horizontal bars, the menu is hidden, so I'll select this to gain access through my course menu to the modules. Regardless of what content we're adding to our course, we always want to make sure that we go through the modules page. Our students will be trained to access all of their material through modules, and as teachers, we also need to be familiar with always going to modules to add content and to organize everything that we add through the various modules that we've created. Your template course should have several modules pre-built for you, including a week or a unit that is filled out with any applicable dates or unit numbers. If it is a basic template, you can rename any of the module titles to best fit your needs. Today I'm going to add to my week 1 module, or if you're using the unit template, maybe you want to consider practicing by adding items and course materials to your unit 1 module. I could, if I wanted to, through the 3-dot extended menu, I could rename by editing. So if I don't like the title that the template has provided for me, I can retype that content in to this editable bar and then update the module accordingly. Right next to that extended menu is a plus sign, and this is where we can go through to add various features to our module. If I click the Add button, a new window pops up, and in the drop-down box, you have several options to add different things to your course. I'm going to start by adding a simple page. When I select page from the drop-down menu, I can select any page that has already been created, or if it's a new page, I can select the top option and then give the page a title. So I'm going to call this my sample page and click Add the item. Immediately that new page will be populated within that module and it becomes a hyperlink. So if I hover over the title I just created, it will take me to a new screen where I can see exactly what that page contains. For now, it just has a title. So if we want to add content to it, again, I would need to go to the top right corner to the Edit Pencil button. And this will open up a screen where I can add a wide range of different content. It's here that we're going to take a look at the Rich Content Editor toolbar. which is essentially all of these options listed above this large window that we can edit within. If I click in this window, you'll see a blinking cursor. And so this is where we can work. It's almost like your canvas where you can put anything down that you want. If you feel like this workspace is too small, over in the bottom right corner of that window, right below the word count, is a shaded triangle. If you hover over it, you'll get a double-sided arrow that you can drag to adjust the amount of that space that you can see at any given time. I can type in any information. And I can highlight and edit the text in any way, much that you could in a word processor or a Google Doc. You have your standard editing features, justification and paragraph editing, bullet lists, and making a numbered list. In the second row of my Rich Content Editor toolbar, I have a wide range of additional options. And essentially, the second row are different things that I could add into this space. The first button is to add a table. And so I could create a table of various widths and lengths and edit that to organize information for students. The second button is kind of like a piece of film with a play button, and you can insert or edit media this way. If I click on this tool, this window is where I could copy and paste a video with a URL such as a YouTube link, and then click OK, and it would be embedded into this editable space for students to see. I could also select any text that I type and click on this chain link icon, which would allow me to copy and paste a URL link to create a hyperlink to another resource. And likewise, if I had created a link and I've changed my mind, I could then select the link and click this next one, which shows a broken chain link, and that would remove the link from this space. This next small square is a portrait in which you could click on to add in an image. If you have an online source for your image, you can type in the URL address here. If you would like to upload, you would go to the second tab labeled Canvas and upload it to your course files from your computer. And the image would be embedded into that space. The next button is the Math Equation Editor. This is going to act very similar to MathType in that you can type in and create a formula or an expression. If you prefer to type or paste content in LaTeX, you can do so by switching to Advanced. Once you've created an equation and you click Insert, it will be a static image on your page. But the static image can be edited by double-clicking the image. In this space is our Google Apps icon. If you click here, it will automatically sync to your Google Drive. So any of my files and folders that I have in my drive are now accessible through my Canvas course. You would simply select a document, a sheet, Google Slides, or even a PDF file that you have saved in your drive, and then you would select either to embed the document or to link it. If you embed the document, it's going to show up on the screen for students without any additional clicks. If you instead decide to link the document, it will show up as a hyperlink on the page that students will then have to click to access the resource in a new tab. The small V takes you to a list of external tools. So these are third-party sites that have integrations with Canvas that you can directly embed. You can also find other apps that you could use as external tools through the settings menu. Next to external apps is a small play button in which you can click to record or upload media that you create here in Canvas. So for quick informational videos to insert on the fly for students, this is a really convenient tool. But again, to deliver chunks of content in a more polished setting, you're probably going to want to use Screencastify or WeVideo. So there's a wide range of different things we can embed here. For today's tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to embed um, a basic Google Doc. And so I have a sample one here, and I'm going to embed it so you can see how it looks on the screen. What's nice about embedding a document is that it is seamlessly synced with your Google Drive. So if I decide to edit this page, any changes that I make in this document will sync with this document in my Drive as well. So if you make a change in Canvas, you don't have to remember to go back and make the change in your document in your Drive for future use. While you have editing rights, Canvas takes care of making sure that from the student side, they will only have viewing rights. By embedding and sharing a document from your Google Drive, you are simply providing the document for students to view or to read or to process information. It's a way to share content with students. This is not how you would push out a copy of the Google document to students. We'll be doing that as an assignment. So this was just adding a basic page. If I go back to my modules again through my course menu and return to that week one module where I added a sample page, I'm going to return to the plus sign just to show you some of your other features. This is where we could add a discussion, and it's going to follow the same exact procedure. I would create a topic name and add the item. It will automatically populate under my module, only this time with a little talking bubble icon. And if I click into this now live link, I can set up my discussion. And right now it looks blank. There's no directions for students, no expectations, and no prompt. But I can go in to my edit pencil button in the top right corner, just as we did before, and I have a window and that same rich content editor toolbar. If I scroll down, it gives me some other options like being able to grade my discussion and to allow threaded replies, and then click save for that discussion to be set for your students. Again, going back to my modules and scrolling down to that sample week one, this time I'm going to add an assignment. I'll select a new assignment and give it a name. Add the item. And just as before, it shows up under my module. When I click into the assignment, it's going to show me the various properties associated with the assignment, which we haven't set yet. But you can add a rubric to make your grading of the assignment a little more streamlined after students submit their work. But I ultimately need to go back to the top right corner with the Edit Pencil button. And this is where I can set up the information about the assignment. Again, if there's any directions or descriptions or materials that students would need to complete the assignment, that can be added in the same editing window with our familiar rich content editor toolbar. But scrolling below that is where I can set the properties of the assignment. So you can set how many points it would be worth, designate which grading category it will fall under, and then also set a due date using the calendar tool. You will need to select an actual due date before you can save the assignment. I'm going to scroll back up and draw your attention to the submission type drop-down menu in the assignment properties, or something where there isn't a tangible or electronic item that students have turned in. This is very similar to what we did in years past by going into Skyward and adding an assignment and then entering the grades. We still need to create an assignment to have a grade placeholder in our gradebook. But in addition to just creating a placeholder to add a grade, you may have some assignment types that can be submitted online. If you have, for some reason, a hard copy of an assignment that students are turning in, you can select on paper as the submission type. In theory, having no submission versus on paper isn't very different, but by designating that there is something on paper, it is a nice way to communicate to students that they have something that they need to make sure gets to you as compared to having no submission. If you select an online submission type, you will automatically be prompted with 4 additional options. You could select the assignment to be a text entry if you wanted students to select um, something that they have typed and to copy and paste it, or to write a response directly in their submission entry. You will also have the option to select Unicheck for plagiarism review. This will compare the student's work against other works out on the internet, as well as other student work that has been submitted. Instead of a text entry, you may wish that students instead provide a website URL link. You could also have students submit a media recording, either a video or an audio recording that they could share with you. Finally, there's a file upload option in which students could upload a file that they've created to share with you. They could upload directly from their Google Drive using this option, and you can also restrict upload file types. This is really helpful if students are submitting an image file to you. I typically like to restrict students to submitting a JPEG, a PNG, or a PDF file to make sure that it is accessible on my end when grading. There have been issues in the past with students submitting image files taken from their iPhones, and the AGIC files do not always upload very well in Canvas's SpeedGrader tool. So there's a wide range of different online options to have students submit and demonstrate their mastery of your content. The final submission type is another really powerful tool, and it's listed as external tools. This is where you could pair up an assignment with a third-party site that has integration capability with Canvas. If I go to the Find link, it's going to populate a list of various external tools. So this is where I could assign an Edpuzzle that I've created and want to assign it to students, and Canvas and Edpuzzle will automatically grade it and send the grades to my Canvas gradebook. It will pull in students' Flipgrid submissions so that I can grade their videos individually within Canvas. Instead of going to Flipgrid's website, everything is in-house. Google Docs Cloud Assignments. This is where you can push out a document to students in much the same way that you could in Google Classroom. So in Google Classroom, you had the option to share a document with students in such a way that it made a copy for each student. You could do that here as well. It's called a Google Cloud Assignment. And if you click on it, it will link or sync to your Google Drive. Where before, when we did this, we were just embedding to share out a document. Now we're selecting a document that students would have their own copy of and could add and edit and type and then submit it to you. So once I've selected the document from this Google Docs assignment or cloud assignment, I could then select this and assign it below. This would now give students the opportunity to submit their own version of a document that you pushed out to them. If I click Save, I can now see how this is going to look to students. Again, we just created a new assignment, and for this particular example, I have created a Google Cloud assignment just so that you can see how this would look different than an embedded Google Doc. It gives you a message at the top to remind you that this is what you've done. It says you've created a cloud assignment external tool submission type from your Google account. Students will receive a copy of this document that they can modify for their assignment submission. On the student end of this document, they can type and edit according to whatever you've created. And then they will have a blue button at the top that will say submit. So when they're done editing the document, they click submit and it will be sent to you for your review. On the instructor side, once students have begun to submit these assignments, you will have another button that appears on this far right side under editing the assignment settings that will be titled Speed Grader. Speed Grader is a really powerful perk of Canvas and one of my personal favorite features. And you can think of SpeedGrader as your stack of papers. So, in years past, where you've collected hard copies of an assignment from students and you take home your stack of papers to grade, you grade one and you put it to the bottom of the stack, you grade the next one, and you continue to work through your stack of papers. Now, SpeedGrader is going to allow you to view one paper at a time, and instead of putting it to the bottom of the stack, you'll simply hit an arrow to go to the next student's page and grade it. Once you grade it on that screen, it will automatically sync the grade to Canvas gradebook. Another nice feature of Canvas is how easy it is to share any assignment or page or discussion or any other content that you've created on your own. Instead of going into the Edit Pencil button, right next door are the three dots for the extended menu. If I click on this button, I have two options that are probably going to be most commonly used. The first is to send to. This is where you can take this assignment and share it with someone else that may be teaching the same class or someone in another building that you are collaborating with. Also, if this is an assignment that you may choose to do similarly in another module or another unit, you can make a copy of it and then modify any of the properties or assignment details by copying it to another module here in the extended menu. I'm going to go back to my modules page because there's one final step in making sure that our course is ready to go and is accessible to our students. You may have noticed next to all of the items that we've created, there is either a green check mark or a crossed out no symbol. If there's a green check mark, that means that this item is published, which is just a way of saying that if students were to click into your course from their dashboard, any item that has a green check mark next to it would be visible to them. In order to publish a resource, I'm going to hover over the no symbol and click it once, and it will automatically turn to that green check mark. You can select any of your items and also deselect it if you change your mind and no longer want students to have access to it. The final step in preparing your course for students is to ensure that the course in its entirety is published as well. So we just finished publishing content within the course, but now we need to make sure that the course is accessible to students through their dashboard. To do that, I'm going to go back to my home page. And in the top right corner of the home page is your course status. Right now, your courses are probably kind of shaded in red and listed as unpublished. But if you hover over the check mark that says publish and click it once, it will turn green and you will know that your course is now visible on each student's dashboard. This concludes the basic Canvas course launch training. You'll find there are many exciting features in Canvas to enhance your course experience for students. Don't be afraid to play around in your Sandbox course or to seek out new ideas, inspiration, or help in our Canvas support course found on your Canvas dashboard.